Chinese authorities have changed the ending of a Bible story. The story claims Jesus is a sinner and even that he killed a woman. This as China is expected to renew a deal with the Vatican. NTD's Juliet Song has more on that.
China and the Vatican are reportedly about to renew a historic deal. That's as a Chinese textbook has been found to paint Jesus as a murderer. In the original Bible story, a woman was about to be stoned for committing adultery, but Jesus stepped in, pardoning her sin and letting her go. But the Chinese textbook describes a different ending. It says when the crowd receded, Jesus stoned the woman to death, saying, "I too am a sinner, but if the law could only be executed by men without blemish, the law would be dead." The textbook is used by vocational school students. It teaches professional ethics and law and has been approved by a review committee under China's education ministry. The discovery comes as the Chinese regime and the Vatican are reportedly about to extend a deal. It was signed 2 years ago and allows both Beijing and the Pope to appoint bishops in China. China is home to about 12 million Catholics. They're split into two groups, state-run and underground. Pastors in the country's state-run associations are appointed by the communist regime. State-run associations reject the Pope's authority, while underground Catholics recognize it and are often persecuted for it. But under the deal, the Pope has final say about the appointment of bishops in China and is recognized as the leader of the church. After it was signed, the Pope also recognized 7 clergies previously ordained by the communist regime. Some conservative critics consider the approval a sellout to the communist regime. The deal is about to expire next month, and U.S. is calling the Vatican to abandon it. In an editorial, Pompeo wrote that human rights conditions for religious believers have deteriorated amid the deal. He cited an example of a Chinese Catholic who was beaten and taken into custody for refusing to join the state-run church. On Twitter, Pompeo also wrote, "The Vatican endangers its moral authority should it renew the deal." He's expected to visit the Pope at the end of this month. Reporting by Juliet Song, NTD News.
India is preparing for another skirmish at its border with China. New military drills are part of the ongoing standoff between the neighbors.
The drills took place at an airbase in the Himalayan border region close to China and Pakistan. It is suspected that both China and Pakistan may come together against India. The Indian Air Force said it was ready for undertaking operations simultaneously on both fronts.
The Indian Air Force is fully trained and ready to undertake operations by day or night on both the fronts. The air warriors are fully trained and highly motivated, and we stand by the motto of Indian Air Force to touch the sky with glory.
Another pilot was asked about their capability to undertake night operations in these tough terrains. He said their warfare capabilities have increased a lot. He is confident they can undertake all types of missions from the forward base, even at night. The Indian Air Force is often performing drills at the Himalayan border. 20 Indian soldiers were killed there during violent clashes with Chinese troops in June.
And the Department of Justice has directed a Pennsylvania county to change its illegal ballot handling practices before the election. An investigation into discarded ballots there has revealed troubling findings.
An investigation by the FBI and local officials of Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, began after 9 military mail-in ballots were found discarded in a dumpster last week. U.S. Attorney David Freed said in a letter to the Director of Elections of Luzerne County that the findings of the investigation are troubling. The letter said the investigation has revealed that all or nearly all envelopes received in that election office were opened as soon as they were received. Opening any mail-in ballot before Election Day violates the law. But election staff in Luzerne made this their standard practice. Why? Because they say envelopes of overseas military ballots and absentee ballots look very similar to mail-in ballot requests. They say they believe that following the protocol of leaving envelopes unopened would cause them to miss ballot requests. So they opened every envelope. Freed told the county election director the Luzerne County Bureau of Elections must comply with all applicable state and federal election laws and guidance to ensure that all votes, regardless of party, are counted to ensure an accurate election count. In addition to the 9 discarded military ballots, investigators found 4 official absentee ballot envelopes that were empty. 7 of the 9 discarded ballots were cast for Trump. The other 2 envelopes were sealed, the contents unknown to investigators at the time their statement was issued. Freed said all documents will be preserved and that the investigators' goal is to ensure that every properly cast ballot is counted. Reporting by Grace Coulter, NTD News.
A group celebrated the newest inscriptions of American intellectuals into the Nobel Monument. It's the only monument in a New York City park that has the names of living people inscribed on it, with nearly 400 names engraved.
I'm here at Theodore Roosevelt Park in New York City, where 8 American intellectuals are now inscribed on the Alfred Nobel Monument. One of the winners shares his experience of winning the Nobel Prize and tells us why he won it.
It was sort of like almost an out-of-body experience to suddenly be talking to this man from Sweden telling me that I had won the Nobel Prize.
Dr. Kalin won the prize in medicine for discovering the mechanism in the human body responsible for letting cells detect and respond to changes in oxygen levels.
And then on the flip side, we do have some new cancer drugs based on this knowledge, and I would say where they've made the biggest impact so far is in kidney cancer, but we think in time it'll play roles in other cancers.
And he says the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is set to have a ruling about releasing the drug this December. The Nobel Peace Prize was founded by Alfred Nobel, a Swedish intellectual with many talents, including chemistry, business, philanthropy, and others. He held 355 different patents during the 1800s. People are nominated for a variety of Nobel Prizes through Swedish committees. The Nobel Peace Prize nominees are selected by Norwegian committees. The monument was placed here in 2003. The first name ever inscribed was Theodore Roosevelt. He won the Nobel Prize for his peace treaty in 1905, which ended the Russo-Japanese War.
You could always wonder, why do you have a stone? But I think it's one of our possibilities to remind ourselves and remind young people how important this is.
President Trump was nominated for the Nobel Prize for his Middle East peace deal, and Joe Biden was endorsed by 13 Nobel Prize winners for his economic agenda. So there's a chance that this year's presidential candidates could make it onto the monument at next year's annual inscription celebration. Reporting by Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Outdoor dining in New York City is now permanent year-round. Mayor Bill de Blasio called the trend a new part of life in the Big Apple for generations to come. This comes as restaurants have been limited to outdoor dining for the past 3 months, and owners have repeatedly called on the mayor and governor to help their businesses recover.
Next week, New York City restaurants can start serving guests indoors, but at a limited capacity. Restaurant owners now have a way around the 25% capacity restriction. Year-round outdoor dining has been approved. Restaurants will continue serving customers on sidewalks, curbsides, and parking lots for months to come. That is, if they can work around the bite of the winter weather. Restaurant owners are allowed to pull out heat lamps and tents, but the rules say that if the tent is enclosed, they still must limit capacity to 25%. Mayor de Blasio called New York's outdoor dining a positive experiment. He said it should be continued into the future, even when the pandemic is less of a concern. Since the city started opening up, many restaurant owners rallied on multiple occasions to call on the governor and mayor to make a plan to get restaurant businesses back on track. Hundreds of owners even filed a lawsuit against the two officials, demanding a plan to ease the financial pressure owners have faced over the past few months.
In Paris, as the pandemic keeps tourists away from the city, mysterious guests took a hotel. Our France correspondent David Vives has the story.
The 3-star hotel La Regent usually welcomes American tourists. Due to the CCP virus, bookings have been running low. But rooms aren't empty anymore. For about 10 days, teddy bears have been in the hotel, turning it upside down. They drink coffee in the hall, stare at 18th century paintings, show off at the windows, and have a break on a terrace in the manager's company.
I asked Philippe, a bear manager, if I could have bears in my hotels. He asked me whether I was kind enough to deal with them. I answered yes, then asked the hotel to welcome a bear congress.
According to the bear manager, teddy bears are about kindness and smiles.
Don't worry, big boy. Everything will be fine. Here's your mask.
2 years ago, he started to lend these bears to people in his neighborhood for free, and the outcome made him want to do more.
I used to sell newspaper in the morning and sleep in the afternoon. This time to sleep is now over. I'm driving across Paris, picking up bears, lending or giving bears to people. I put them in the bear mobile. They always forget to fasten their seatbelt on the way. I think this is a Parisian mindset.
During challenging times due to the CCP virus pandemic and lockdown, these bears have a magic effect.
These bears brought a lot of joy with them to the neighborhood. Some people came to us to show support, asking questions.
The fame of these bears has crossed the oceans. Philippe said he receives pictures of bears from countries all around the world. But traveling is challenging, as the big boys always travel on a passenger seat in planes. He said he now waits for an airline to be his official partner, a further step to scale up the circulation of the teddy bears. Reporting by David Vivez, NTD News.